Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much for joining us here in the Dark Thoughts Talks space, which is brought to you by Dark Media in collaboration with Idealux. Before we get into this next discussion, we've got a quick video from our partners Idealux, which we'd like to play for you, and then we'll get started. So I'm very happy to be hosting this talk because we've got an excellent conversation with Anthony Steed of Into Lighting and Emma Caballero of DLSM Studio to talk about the bold and vibrant design of the Radisson Red Hotel at Twickenham Stadium, which, as you may or may not know, is the home of English rugby. Readers of Arc magazine should already be familiar with this project, as not only did we feature it in our most recent issue, but it also graced the front cover. There are copies of it over on the table over there, so please pick one up because it's a very good article. So as a project, Radisson Red London Twickenham looks to fuse the hotel chain's dynamic personality with a design narrative that celebrates the heritage, energy and community spirit of rugby culture. So we're very happy that Anthony and Emma are here today to talk to us a bit more about this design narrative and how the project all came together. So thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
So my first question, we may as well start at the start. Can you tell us a little bit about the early stages of this project and how both DLSM and Into got involved? We'll start with you, Emma.
So DLSM Studio were appointed to carry out the full transformation of the hotel. It was previously a different brand and we had to transform it into a Radisson Red. I think a key part of the client ambition, RFU, was to integrate the hotel a lot more into the community and kind of give back, because obviously there's quite a bit of a hassle every time there is a match day. But I think that was key for us. So we kind of, the full scope was position this F&B option very linked to the community and the full renovation of the hotel, including 150 guest rooms, the whole reception, co-working, and then we also introduced 2 new social concepts in the restaurant, the Huddle, and in the upstairs, the Loft.
Okay, and Anthony, at what point did Into get involved? Was it early on in the process at the same sort of time?
Yeah, so we were invited to tender for the project by the client team, the project manager and LSM, and then we had to have a series of interviews with the client team, and based on those and our previous portfolio of hospitality work, we were appointed the project.
Okay, excellent. So what were your initial conversations like on this, both with the client and with each other?
So I think at the beginning, obviously we had to work with 3 different organizations. There are a few, Radisson Red and Aimbridge, who was the hotel operator. So the first challenge for us was kind of meet the needs of these 3 big brands, not only from a brand perspective, but from a commercial point of view. So I don't know if you know, but DLSM Studio is a strategic led design company. So we really base our, like a really big part of our job is to carry out a really deep study on locality. We study competitors, we study the benchmarks, we study guest profiles, so we can really tailor the offer that we propose. Sorry, I got lost.
So the kind of the early stages of discussions with each other as well as with the client, and I suppose ascertaining what the brief would be, I guess, for the project as well.
Yeah, I think kind of we found like a sweet spot in between the brands, between Radisson Red and the RFU. Like Radisson Red has quite a bold personality. They always talk about design with an attitude. They have a bit of a urban hint. And then the RFU had really great ambitions for what the Twickenham and now Allianz Stadium was going to be. So we kind of found that concept of energy and dynamic, and we kind of ground our concept around these values, but also around them how to give back to the community and ensuring that whatever we did with the different areas was really inviting to the locals to really enjoy the hotel as well.
Okay.
So we ended up having anchoring the narrative in like elevating the everyday
Okay.
and how the possibilities could unfold, like from like any midday day to a match day when the stadium welcomes 82,000 people. So I was happy where we sat.
Yeah, sure. And how did the lighting factor into this, Anthony?
Yeah, well, LSM had a very strong concept for the interior of the space. So we just had to be mindful of where that was going. We had to be mindful of the Red brand identity. And we also had to bear in mind where the hotel is located in an iconic sports venue. So all those were our initial thoughts on the project.
Okay, so something that I'm quite interested about, I think, well, when we talked about it for the magazine, we talked about this as well, but the brand identities and that of Radisson Red and of the RFU, in my mind, like, when you think of rugby, you think it's kind of this like heritage sport, it's quite traditional, but then to look at Radisson Red as a brand, it's very, very modern, very urban, very bold, and it kind of felt like there might have been a clash. So did you find that at all?
No, I think it's a bit of a misconception. I think the RFU has really like a progressive vision on where they want to take the rugby football these days, and there's a lot of energy, play bold, and like there's a lot of female oriented, and that is reflected as well. I don't know if you have seen like a sculpture, like a bespoke sculpture that we have. So I think they are, even if they are grounded on the heritage and tradition, they have a strong vision for what it can be.
Okay.
So I think that's where we saw the potential in the energy the two brands represent.
Okay, sure. And when you started working on this project, did you at DLSM have an idea in mind of what you wanted the lighting to be before you spoke to Anthony into?
I think when we put together the first set of visuals to present to the client, the atmosphere was there. We wanted something really vibrant, really energetic, but also the hotel had to really adapt to different scenarios. So we kind of knew what we wanted to achieve, but obviously Into made it happen.
And was that helpful for you guys to have this clear kind of definition of what they wanted to achieve?
Yeah, we knew what they wanted to achieve in terms of ambience, but I think firstly the key thing we had to do was fundamentally work out how each of the spaces function within the hotel and how they function throughout the day, afternoon, evening, and some areas even overnight. So once we kind of got our heads around exactly how it's going to function, it was then looking at all the materiality and how the lighting was going to enhance the materiality, create the ambience while also performing for the relevant tasks in each of the areas at different times of the day. And then obviously control of all that, we had to start thinking about early doors as well.
Sure. And I understand that you guys both took part in some joint workshops as well in the early phases of the project. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about these workshops and what they involved and the outcomes and whatnot.
Yeah, so very early doors, what we like to do is get down to the interior designers, go through plans, elevations, start thinking about what we want to light, what we don't want to light, where we want feature lights, where we don't want feature lights, but then also really early start looking at where we want to integrate light, whether it's in joinery, architectural details, because unless that's done early doors and it start being incorporated into interior design's package, it tends to get lost further down the road. So very early on, we kind of wanted to work out where we wanted to put light, what we wanted to light, and then we just started to work out how we were going to do it.
Right. And that's the hard part, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems like there was a lot of very early collaboration, which I suppose is really important if you want to have this ideal marriage of interior design and lighting design as well.
Yeah, I think you have to start early and start thinking about colour temperatures how you want to create the ambience, how you want the spaces to function, how things are going to be integrated, how things are going to be controlled. Yeah, the earlier the better a lighting design's involved in a project, because inevitably a lot of the time when you're brought on too late, it's too hard to retrospectively go back and do what you'd really want to do. But being able to design the scheme along with the interior designer from the very beginning, you can get more of the lighting features and elements within the design.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I'm so glad that they got into the project at the early stage of visuals, because even like when we had to specify the decorative lighting, they were there to support us. When we developed the whole artwork package as well, they were really helpful in kind of advice on what kind of finishes each one of the artworks had to have. So we avoid like glare or reflections. It was, yeah, great.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's very, collaborative and being open to suggestions as well, which I guess is a really important factor as well.
Yeah, that's it. When we first have the meetings with designers and we go through everything, and then that's when we start throwing about ideas. They're like, we'd really like to like this, but we're not sure how to do it. We're like, have you thought about integrating lighting here? So it's a collaborative effort to get it how you want it. It's not. I don't think it should ever just be the lighting designer's responsibility to light it. I think it needs to be done in collaboration with the interior designer and their strong concept of it.
Yeah, I think we have quite a lot of touch points. So it's more like a conversation rather than, there you are, your package.
Yeah.
Good luck. Yeah.
Off you go.
Yeah.
So as we can see, we've got some images flicking through on the screen here. As you can see, there's a really strong harmony in the lighting and interior design, particularly through the use of rich, deep colours and materials that are paired with this warm yet vibrant lighting. So I wondered if you could speak a little bit on this harmony and how the way that the two studios kind of came together to achieve this.
Yeah, I think from the offset, we were both in alignment that the interior design and the lighting had to have a synergy. And this was both aesthetic, from the design of the lights, the shape of the lights, where the lights are placed, to also the colour of the light, what colour temperature goes where, how the colour temperatures affect the different materialities throughout the space, how it's controlled, at what levels it dims in certain areas. So it was all done. It had to sit side by side for it to work.
So one of the words that we used a lot when we spoke about this project for the magazine was energetic. And I wonder, how do the lighting and interiors help to create this energetic feeling?
So I think the energetic feeling, we grounded into like the energy that it happens on a rugby game. So it's, you see some of the light fittings are quite angular and LED based, like we mix like black metal with some more riveted glass to add a bit of elegance to it. But I think it comes from the concept of structure, and if you think of on a rugby formation, but also we wanted to integrate the concept of dynamic, and we really like what we achieved into the first floor area, that we have created like a double line of neon that represent the motion that you will take like in a long exposure photograph. Yeah. So we think those two really connect the two brands, and we think it works nicely.
Yeah, sure. And
yeah, I think it's a combination of the materiality, the colours, the aesthetic of the light features, the artwork, the signage. I think all of that combined does bring an energy and a dynamic to the space.
And then other factors that were really important was the idea of depth and contrast as well, which kind of helped to create the right ambience throughout. So I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more on that depth and contrast and how that was achieved.
Yeah, so we didn't obviously want to have a blanket level of light throughout the different spaces. We wanted to have highlights, highs, lows, light, shadow, and the rich and dark colours as well also helped us to create a more theatrical lighting effect throughout the space.
Okay, and so obviously within the hotel we can see from the images there's quite a few different areas within. We talked about, you mentioned the huddle and the loft hospitality spaces, and then also, the reception area, the guest rooms. So were each of these areas given their own unique character or identity?
Yeah, I think, like in general, not only for the lighting, I think for the ground floor, the strategy was to create something that it was really welcoming, like to invite the guests into the reception. So I think we went for something a bit softer, a bit more elegant in a way. And then the first floor, it was going to be used more like a socializing space, where with the gaming area, the loft. So this area was where we introduced more like a fun and like dynamic vibe to create that kind of fun set. But also it was really important to create these pockets of more intimate conversation. So I think we play quite a lot with the lighting on that aspect as well. Then the loft, that is kind of the event space that is for hire. I think we wanted something quite versatile. There are also some track system to subdivide the space, so the light had to work when the space is fully open or really enclosed. And then for the huddle, that is the restaurant. I think we went for something feels a bit more like an independent restaurant, and that is something that we really wanted to achieve, and we managed, I think. Something that it was really warm, welcoming, and so because sometimes we don't really feel comfortable in a hotel restaurant if you are not a guest, but I think we found like a link in between that is appeal to the community.
Yeah, sure. And how does the lighting reflect these different identities as well?
Yeah, we wanted each area within the hotel to have its own identity and not just sort of be a different element, but they all kind of look the same. So the restaurants Emma mentioned, we almost wanted it to be a standalone restaurant rather than a restaurant in a hotel. So we mixed up colour temperatures in the different areas, went for warmer in the restaurant, slightly cooler in the reception, then went back to slightly warmer in the bar upstairs, and then in the event space we ended up using tunable white because it was completely multifunctional, so we wanted to give the operator the option of being able to have complete flexibility for how that space can be used. So each space was kind of, it had to have an overall synergy and work well together, but they were designed individually, effectively.
Yeah, so is there a kind of narrative thread that runs between them all? Aside from them just being in the same building?
I think the concept of energy, it goes throughout, that we can connect quite well the two brands.
Yeah, and the colour scheme throughout.
Yeah,
even
the
though
colour
they're
scheme.
different colours, from the huddle to the reception to the bar to the event space, they all work even though they're different.
Yeah, the materiality, like we also try to keep the palette quite to a minimal. There are some fabrics that are repeated as well, like there's like a rack collection going on around. So yeah, we try to keep the material palette reduced, but then play with the different aspects of the interiors.
Okay, cool. And there's also a really strong kind of combination and harmony of architectural and decorative lighting throughout the project too. So how do the two elements kind of complement each other throughout? And how was the specification process for these different elements as well?
Yeah, we wanted the decorative elements to definitely be the standout features that you notice, with the architectural and integrated lighting being more something you don't necessarily notice, but more of a backdrop which adds to the ambience and the feeling throughout the space. But it was the feature lighting that we wanted to take centre stage effectively. So the architectural lighting we specified in terms of, colour temperature, output, performance, size, and the decorative lighting was led by DLSM, but then obviously we had to look at, again, output, performance, glare, dimming protocol. I think some of the original fixtures actually ended up being rejected because they didn't have the performance criteria. Okay. And it's also quite tricky when you have a lot of decorative light, because you've got to think, right, well, how much ambient light is this adding? Is it going to be too much? Am I still going to get the mood? So it was a careful combination.
Coordination.
Yeah,
sure. And what were the kind of the narrative or aesthetic choices behind the decorative lighting?
Yeah, I think for the large, we have to say that some of the locations for the architectural lighting were kind of existing, so we had to deal with that in a way. But I think for the large decorative pieces, it was really more towards this concept of energy and structure and motion. And then I think for the smaller fittings, let's say floor lights, table lamps, it was more like to soften up the whole space and to create a bit more of a layer interior. I think this is something that Radisson Red as a brand pay really a lot of attention, and it's quite detailed on their brand standards, how they talk about this layering and not only introducing small light features but artifacts. And I think it's really nice as to create these talking points when you introduce different quirky elements around. So I think the small scale decorative lighting was that kind of layer and personality.
Okay, and because Radisson Red is a chain, to what extent are you kind of guided by what other branches of it are like? Do you kind of have to make sure everything's not uniform, but it matches other locations, or do you have a bit more freedom in scope?
I think because of where we were, we had a bit more freedom.
Okay.
So we were quite lucky on that aspect. And there were quite a lot of conversations with them, and we had to negotiate quite a lot. But I think they are quite pleased with the result. And we are, I think it was the perfect brand for this location on this particular hotel. I think there's the artwork, even if the whole artwork collection has a hint to the rugby. They are very Radisson Red in the color palette, in the strength, in the boldness. I think the same for the FF&E items as well. I think we managed.
Okay, cool. It's kind of got its own unique identity.
It does, yeah.
So, what were some of the biggest challenges that you guys faced when working on this?
In terms of lighting, I think one of the key challenges is downstairs we've got relatively high ceilings, and where you've got high ceilings, it can always be a bit of a challenge in the evening to create the intimacy. So during the day we need it to be brighter and fresher, being a hotel, but at night we wanted to get it really warm and ambient, and with high ceilings sometimes it's tricky. So it was making sure we just had a really well balanced layered lighting scheme where we could bring the lighting down in the evening to still help create the ambience, which I think worked.
Yeah, I think budget.
Budget, yeah. Ultimately.
Yeah.
Okay, so with budget being an issue, how do you work around that?
Well, I think we had to respec a few fittings in terms of finishes, F&E. We had things bespoke. And then we asked the client to stretch a little bit. But and then, I mean, it was job of the procurement agency to negotiate these items.
Right.
I think we kind of stick to similar furniture supplier to get better deals and things like that.
Okay, so with that in mind then, was there anything that you wanted to achieve on this project but ultimately couldn't, whether that was through issues like budget or the logistics of the space?
I think from an early stage we knew they were going to redo the ceiling, we would have taken the ceiling into consideration for the overall design. But when we started, the brief was don't touch the ceiling, this is what you have. So I think we would have created a bit more, I don't know, maybe dramatic effect, made different light spots to create different, but I think I'm happy with the result.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest one for us. Due to budgets, they wanted to reuse a lot of the existing downlights throughout. So in an ideal world, we would have had a higher spec fitting with more glare control and better optical control. And in the event space, if we could have had the track spots tunable white as well, it would have given us a slightly another layer of lighting within there.
Yeah. But all of that notwithstanding, you look back on the project now, happy with it? Pleased with how it went?
Yeah.
Yeah. I went recently and quite pleased with the result, and regardless of the budget or all the different conversations. I think the result is what we envisioned. Like if you look at the original visuals and you see the interiors now, it's quite spot on. So I think, great.
Yeah, okay. So what would you say the lighting brings to the space then?
I think it complements the interiors, and it functions throughout the day and the night, how the hotel wants to function. The control operationally works. And I think it definitely just creates the right atmosphere and the ambience and the feeling in each of the spaces throughout the different times of the day and the night, which is the key thing we wanted to achieve.
Yeah, I think it definitely makes the whole project having a good lighting. I think the result would have been really different if we wouldn't have had like a lighting consultant. So I'm really happy that they were on board, and the result, I mean, we have a purple ceiling, so you'd really need some skills to light that up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really
so hire
happy.
a lighting consultant.
Always.
Yeah, excellent.
Definitely.
Spend the money.
So, is there a particular moment or element of the project that you look back on and feel really sort of most proud of? Whether that's a space within the hotel or something that happened during the design process, the collaboration. What do you feel most proud of when you look back on it?
I think there are two aspects that I'm really proud of. And the first one is first view that you have when you go into the hotel, that you see, like, it's the opposite. If you stand on that door, you see full entrance with a key structure, strength lighting coming up from the stairs. And then you have a series of layers that we have created, like an initial seating area, then we have like an open bookcase, and then we have like a really nice frame view of a cozy seating area. And there's like open bookshelf with rugby artwork. So I think that first view of the project, you get everything that we wanted to tell. So I think that is, I was quite impressed, to be honest. I wasn't expecting it so nice. And then the second one is that something that Anthony and I discussed the first time I showed him the design. That is the lobby into the washrooms on the first floor. That is like a full concrete bunker style. And then I came with the idea, with my team, not me, of having like recessed LEDs, but like staggered to create some kind of portal. And when I showed to Anthony, he said, "Oh, this is gonna be the coolest spot in the whole hotel." And then we were talking about specs, like how do we achieve this, because it was really important that the LED was completely recessed with the wall, so they look after the exact spec that we wanted. And if you go, you need to go into those washrooms. They're really cool.
Yeah, that's what's good about having an interior designer who also knows, about lighting. I mean, lighting designers don't know everything. There will be things other people can bring to the table that we don't necessarily think of, and things like that just add to it and complement it and make it even better.
Yeah. So it sounds like it was all very harmonious then. You guys kind of got along through the whole process, didn't have any disagreements.
Yeah, we're
or
still
anything.
speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Okay, I don't need to sit in between you two, it's fine.
No, not yet.
Okay, so since the project has been completed and launched, what kind of feedback have you had from it? One of the goals that you said was that it would be a place not just for those that are visiting the stadium to watch a match, but something that, for the locals as well. So do you feel like you've achieved that?
Yeah, we have received really positive feedback overall. And when I went there, I came into the hotel through the huddle, and I was quite pleased to see, even if they had changed the full furniture layout, but that is a different matter. At the back of the restaurant, there was like maybe a group of 12 mums with babies, just having some food and drinks. So that really gives me like the realization that we have achieved that kind of community hub that we wanted to do with the hotel restaurant.
Yeah, because it must be quite difficult because you don't think of a stadium as being somewhere that you'd go when you're not going to like watch a match or a performance or whatever. So creating a destination in that sense must be
Yeah, and it's a bit out of the way from Twickenham, the town. So it had to be something worth walking to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm quite pleased.
Good, quite pleased. Good. So that is pretty much all the questions that I had. I want to know if anyone in the audience has a question that they'd like to ask either Anthony or Emma. Come on, don't be shy. Has anyone got a question? No, it doesn't look like it. You've clearly said it all. There you go. That's a successful talk, I guess. Well, in that sense, we may as well just call it there. So thanks very much, Anthony and Emma, for your time. Thanks very much for listening.